Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Unstoppable Wasp issue number 2. This was probably the best issue in both volumes so far. All right, let's get into who actually made this comic book. Writer Jeremy Whitley, art g.i.r.l.s. Letters, VC's Joe Caramunga, and cover Stacey Lee. There's a variant cover by Luciano Vecchio and graphic designer Carlos Lau. All right, also Stan Lee, Ernie Hart, and Jack Kirby created the Wasp. That's the original character, and Janet Van Dyne. And let's not forget that Mark Waid may or may not have something to do with Nadia Van Dyne. All right, so we're going to start off with Nadia. She's exhausted from the previous issue. Yeah, I don't blame her. And they're really showing her to be this young woman who is trying to do so much. She was stuck inside this facility, the Red Room, for so long, and now she gets out. And young or not, you feel like your whole life has... Let's be realistic. Who amongst us, when we were a kid, still in high school, used to think, my whole life is running before my eyes. I'm almost out of high school. Oh my God, what am I going to do with my life? You say like, yes, we've all felt like that. So yes, I totally relate that with young Nadia. Anyway, she goes downstairs. She's got to talk to Ying, but Ying, her old partner from the, her partner in crime from the Red Room, she's down there getting into a fight with Bobby Morse, Mockingbird, my favorite female character in comic books. And it's just a sparring practice, but it's a sciencey sparring process because they're kickboxing or whatever it is that they're doing. And Ying has an advantage over Bobby. Bobby's much more experienced, all right? Probably doesn't have quite as much training, not really that important. The idea is that she's younger. Ying is younger, and she's using that to her advantage. It's not a, Bobby's getting tired thing. Oh, no. It's more like Bobby's nervous about hitting a kid, an obvious, clear kid. She doesn't want to do that. And the Red Room taught people how to take their people, their recruits, how to handle something like that, how to utilize something like that to their advantage. So she doesn't necessarily wipe the floor with Bobby, but she does win the fight. And Bobby's not making any excuses about it. I loved that. She's kind of a tough girl to begin with, all right? But Bobby was also talking to her about, they're both chemists. And it's one of the reasons why I love Mockingbird, man. She started off as a chemist in the comic books, then got promoted to a SHIELD agent, then became a full-blown superhero. She's just kind of freaking awesome, all right? Like, you want to talk about character development, bang, right there. So enough about her. This isn't her book, for crying out loud, but I do love that she made this appearance. God, I love when she makes an appearance in this book. She's talking to Yin the whole time and helping Yin to figure out what the problem is, why she can't localize cancer cells, more specifically PIM particles, to shrink these cancer cells in order to try and cure certain forms of cancer. This was cool. This was a really good conversation, all right? And obviously, Jeremy Whitley is talking to some people who knows what's up in different fields of science. That's awesome. Oh, God, that is so awesome. You know what I'm saying? You can just look at the letters page and see that's true. But after this fight, this sparring session is over, Nadia has to put pants on and actually go and hero. She's got to hero up because the champions need her help. More specifically, we got Viv Vision and Riri Williams, Ironheart. So they join up, and there's a bull statue that came to life. No, this is not actually on Wall Street. That's where all the bull statues are, but something a little bit different. And there's a teachers union march going on, and I'm totally behind that. As an educator, I'm totally behind that. But there's a comment made, don't shoot, Riri. There are too many teachers around. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's not just teachers' lives matter, man. All lives matter, all right? Look, if I'm out someplace and there are laser beams being shot around, oh, yeah, I might wimp out and be like, oh, no, hey, don't shoot. I'm a teacher, right? But that's only if it's like one of these people have to die. Which one's it going to be? I'm like, oh, can't shoot a teacher. Can't shoot a teacher. I am the future. I'm training the future of people, all right? Just be cool. Anyway, what do you call it? So also the idiom trope with the bull in the china shop, so perfect, so damn perfect. I love the puns that were being said, but that last part, so good. Why is it the physically weakest character of these three are actually trying to stop? Is actually the one trying to ride a bull? All right, come on now, come on now. Should be like, hey Viv, could you jump on the bull's back? I like that the gargoyles reference was made. That was awesome. all the members of g.i.r.l., not all of them, but enough of the members of g.i.r.l. got some airtime, some face time on this comic book. Janet Van Dyne, there's a little team up there, which was awesome, and showing how much Nadia is doing and some of the silly battles that they do. Letha and Pound Cake made an appearance in this. Holy crap, are you kidding me? You want to talk about a callback from the previous volume? Bang, that's how you do it. This was such a fun comic book. From beginning to, I honestly thought to myself, I was like, you know, after the previous issue, is this going to be a bit much? Am I going to get a little overdose of this, you know, mostly kid-centric kind of book? You know, is the book necessarily made for me? And I'm reading, I'm thinking, I'm just going to read the first half of the comic book and I'll just comment on that and, you know, whatever. Nope, I read the whole thing. Read the whole damn thing, had to. What do you call it? I paid focus to every single text box that was being delivered. Such a good book. What a great book. I love this, man. Now, all that being said, I do have to make a negative comment. Not about this book, though. Rather, about another comic book YouTube reviewer. YouTube comic book reviewer. No names, but I think enough of you guys can know who I'm talking about. Look, man, first off, let's just point out that when you say that girls can't science, girls don't like science, and girls aren't good at science, meanwhile, you're an IT guy, I got no disrespect for IT guys, none at all. You know, my first career was actually as an electrical engineer. I was a real electrical engineer. And I know, and most people who were in, and you could hear it in his voice, in his inflection when he was talking, this guy went and said, I used to, I'm an engineer. Well, in IT, there's no such thing as an IT engineer. There's software engineers who are basically just extensions of electrical engineers, like me. But you want to science with me, saying, and I know it's a kid's term, but let's be realistic. You want to go back and forth about the sciences, just about STEM, just about engineering, being specific. Let's do this. Let's have this conversation. I will freaking floor you. I will humiliate you, all right? Because I'm an actual former electrical engineer, all right? IT is not engineering. That's no disrespect. We used to have jokes back and forth all the time, and I think the engineers were better with the jokes. Here's a funny joke that we used to have. Electrical engineer, mechanical engineer, chemical engineer, and an IT guy are all in a car. They're driving down the street and the car breaks down, all right? The three engineers get out, they start investigating the car, they get, to looking, and as they're investigating, as they're trying to diagnose the problem, the, the electrical engineer hypothesizes, hey, I think that there's a problem with the battery, or the alternator. There's some kind of a problem there. We have to do a couple tests. And, does anybody have an amp meter? Does anybody have a pair of jumper cables and another battery? Just whatever. Do we have the tools so I can verify my claim? The mechanical engineer is actually next. The mechanical engineer, he's like, oh no, I think there's actually a problem with the manifold. I didn't actually hear the banging, but we were all talking, whatever. But I think that there's a problem with the manifold, the engine itself. Maybe some spark plugs were banging into the headers, and there's some kind of a problem there. So we got to do a fix. I need a flashlight, and give me the proper tools, and a socket wrench so I can open some of this stuff up and figure out what's going on here. I need to actually get eyes on. The chemical engineer is like, no, listen, I'm going to need my own testing equipment because at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure it's a problem with the gas. I think that the gas maybe mixed with the oil or somebody put sugar or water in the gas tank or something like that, or maybe just ran out of coolant, but I'm pretty sure that it's one of those problems. And all three of these individual engineers, they're actually trying to figure out a problem based on what they know. It's, they're trying to make it a problem that they themselves as individuals can try and fix, right? And they're investigating it. They want their tools and they want to actually try and prove right or wrong, what the problem is. The software engineer never actually leaves the car. He's sitting in the car the whole time and he just calls out, can everybody just get back in the car and try and turn the engine on again and see if it works? Yeah, that's the joke. Now, the technician might actually be right. They might be able to just get back in the car, turn on the engine, and start driving away. That always works. Every time that you have a problem with your computer, you know what I'm saying? When I was in engineering, we used to constantly have problems, and I'm talking more than one position, more than one job, more than one company, all right? As an engineer, when we're working on a computer, all of a sudden something happens like, oh, my screen just froze. Everything just froze. What the heck? And you call somebody up from IT, hey, my screen just froze. Hey, I just went to blue screen. Hey, such and such and such. The thing is always, okay, turn off your computer, turn it back on. Cycle it through and see if, if it's working again. If that doesn't work, turn it off. and then unplug it and then plug it back in after 30 seconds and then try it again. What is the problem here? The problem is that this is looking at solutions for the symptoms. I'm not interested in that. I'm looking for a fix for the problem. All right? Engineers are always looking, I don't care what kind of engineer you are, you're always looking for the problem so that these little symptoms don't happen again. This is like medicating yourself if you got, some kind of a infection or you're sick or something like that. You know what I'm saying? That's what that is. So no disrespect to anybody in the tech departments, no disrespect to IT guys, but you don't get to call yourself an engineer if you're a tech guy, if you're just a, an IT guy, all right? No, you don't get to do that. So don't embarrass yourself. Don't humiliate yourself like that, Junior, all right? But this guy who is not an engineer, who is not an educator, who is not qualified to make such a claim that can actually be investigated, just simply does, like I said, the problem is with an IT guy, all right? He does the same problem. He looks at individual a problem, and then he'll just make a quick fix solution for it or answer for it, okay? He says, girls aren't good at science. Girls don't like science. Stop trying to get girls into science. So, back in the day, I think the last engineering job, like full engineering job that I had as opposed to consulting, was in 2003, 2004, 2003. It was definitely 2003. Excuse me, June of 2003. That was the last year that I actually worked in the field. Something on my curtain. Sorry. Anyway, the thing around was that 22% of the students who were entering into the engineering fields, nowadays it's called STEM. They what do you call it? Not a whole lot of women jumping in. So that's a little bit more than 1/5. All right, it's less than a quarter of women entering schools for tech positions, engineering positions specifically. And there's a huge dropout rate for women. Now, you could just look at this on the surface and say, oh, well, obviously girls aren't good at, but the problem is that this is a moronic way of looking at things, all right? Not here to pull any punches. This is a very moronic way of looking at things. There are a lot of other factors, and if you don't choose to even ask if there are factors involved in this, which obviously there will be, like I said, this is childish, this is not even immature, this is infantile, all right? It's beyond juvenile. It's flat out infantile. You have got to be an idiot to think such a thing. No, sorry guys. There are lots of reasons why women either don't get into engineering fields or don't pursue them. And one of those reasons is actually socially. When you're constantly told that you can't do something by people just like this moron, yeah, you tend to let yourself believe things like that. Now, you can always say something like pick yourself up by the bootstraps, but allow me to give you something that'll maybe help you out a little bit more. If you are, let's say, any of you don't have to have all the check, but if you can check off anything on this checklist, white, male, especially a little bit older, you will, straight also helps, all right, because you don't really have as many stigmas there, okay? If you're all those things, but you're black instead of white, you've got the black stigma, but you're still a male. You don't have the female stigma. If you're straight, you don't have the LGBTQ stigma with you. Stigmas matter. Stigmas matter, all right? And the more things that you can't check off, the more stigmas that you've got, the harder it is to pull yourself up by the bootstrap. But let's say that you're a white, straight male, okay, and you've got some age behind you. You don't have the curse of youth on you. What about if you're just simply poor? How about that? Now you've got somebody who's got money, and no, not somebody like Bill Gates, who found their own money, who made their own way, who did pull themselves up by the bootstraps, one of the very few exceptions in this world, as opposed to people like Hiltons, Kardashians. Let's even go into like Rothschilds and people like that, all right? People who inherited money, people who didn't earn their money from scrap, right? Even people like Donald Trump, all right? President Trump himself, he inherited all of his money. 6 bankruptcies, brah. Sorry, the guy didn't pull himself up from anything. He was worth more when he was a kid, when he was 8 years old, than I have ever been worth. All right. And it's when he's 8 years old, it's not because of his savvy business mind, it's because inheritance. All right. Fred Trump was a very prolific, intelligent guy who made a lot of money for himself. Of course, he also inherited a whole lot from his parents, so the Donald's grandparents. But still, so when you got somebody who inherited a lot of money who tells you pick yourself up by the bootstraps, it's really easy to get pissed and to say, dude, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. So many of us can relate to a lot of these stigmas that exist, all right? Growing up, you don't even have to grow up poor, just growing up with the idea that I don't have a lot of money. I come from a family where we didn't have a lot of nutrition in the house because we couldn't afford the better things in life and things like that, living in an apartment as opposed to a house. And more people exist like that today because of the way that, the way that society is actually structured now. You got foreign investors coming in and buying up houses as a way to hide their money, paying above market prices for housing. So right away, that brings up the market price to a lot more. So now regular human beings, people who don't come from inherited millions and billions from overseas or anyplace else, it's almost always the overseas stuff. So let's say, for instance, millionaires from China buying up several houses that aren't even lived in really well-to-do countries. And they're buying up these houses not for market rent, but higher than market rent because they're trying to funnel in this money so that it can be made clean. They're trying to clean their money, and say, oh, it would be like saying I'm just a spice dealer. I invest in spices and I'm a humble spice dealer. That's the reason why I've got this incredible regular empire going on. I'm talking about Kingpin, Wilson Fisk, right? That was always his thing. He cleaned his money through spice trading, but in reality, he was a criminal. All right, that's what he did. He just legitimized himself outside. That's what, there's kingpins all over the world, man, and they go and buy homes, sometimes, in or around or near your neighborhood, that allow them to clean their money. I'll pay you a little bit extra, but meanwhile, and then I'll sell the house at whatever the new market rate is. I'll lose money, but the money now looks clean. The money is now clean. And I can say, oh no, I'm in real estate and I sold a bunch of houses and that's where all the money is coming that I'm paying you with. So it's one of the ways to clean their money. Economics and politics. It's a crappy thing. So you can't look at it and say, oh, people can't afford houses, you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. No, the game is rigged from the beginning, man. The game is rigged. That's the reason why most people can't afford to buy a house anymore. My parents were able to afford to buy a house. I make more than my parents did. You know what I'm saying? But I still can't afford to buy a house. I don't really want a house. You know what I'm saying? But what do you call it? You can't afford to buy a house nowadays on average. It's just, you inherited your house on average if you've got a house nowadays and you're younger, So no, that's just not, it's not acceptable to sit here and say, pull yourself by the bootstraps if you inherited your money. It's not fair, but you don't see that because that's the life that you've always known. These are the people you've always associated with, other people who had a very similar situation to you. So nobody who's struggling in life economically, who can't seem to get ahead, wants to hear some rich fat cat, silver spoon in their mouth, a person talking about pull yourself up by the bootstraps. You never pulled yourself up by the bootstraps. You don't even know what the hell a bootstrap is. So don't talk to me about that. Likewise. Yeah, the social aspect of women constantly being told, no, girls aren't good at science. No, girls don't like science. Say this is social engineering. All right, that's a real thing. That's a real thing. The example I gave should be plenty. All right, but at the end of the day, that's a real thing. So this idea of looking at a symptom, looking at a problem and barely looking at all the symptoms, not looking at all of the aspects that are around sociologically or anything. It's really weak sauce right there. And it definitely shows a very unintelligent person trying to think in an intellectual weight class much higher than they have any right to be in. All right? Stay in your lane, kiddo. Stay in your lane. There's just, there comes a point where some people are going to talk and they really shouldn't be talking. All right? Yeah. So like I was saying, really good comic book. I love this comic book. All right? And on a final note, girls can science. All right? You know what? A lot of bad things people say. While actually before I became a university professor and I was just teaching regular grade school. I was over in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, teaching, and my wife was working in a high school at the time. And the high school that she was working at, that high school was actually number 4. And mind you, Saudi Arabia, my wife is working in school. It's an all-girls school. I was in an all-boys school. All right. She was teaching English at a school where this school was number 4 in what, the country for robotics? No, in the world for robotics. They were number 4 in the world for robotics. That also includes boys. All right, so they're competing with mixed schools, boys' schools, whatever. And they were number 4, and they were upset about it. Why? Because the previous year they were number 2. This person who made the comment that girls aren't good at science, shut up. Anyway, guys, that's going to be it for me. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.